Welcome friends. Today we will take up a new lesson in political science. It's all about foreign policy, that too of our country, Indian foreign policy. What is foreign policy? Foreign policy is a strategy of a nation in dealing with other nations. If you look at the newspapers or see the channels and the news they deliver, you come to know how important is this area. Recently we had a threat from China. India had to plan out as to how that should be faced. Nepal was slowly moving away from India. What should be the next strategy? Our strategy with America, strategy with USA, USSR, Britain, France, all these strategies if you put together, it makes another big study in itself. So the government of India has a separate department in itself to look into all our strategic moves with regard to our neighbors as well as other nations in the world. We have around 200 nations in the world. 193 of them are members of the United Nations. 2 more are waiting in the side curtains, Holy See and Palestine. Many more are planning to get independence for their country and then become members of the United Nations. The dreams of some of these nations and countries, undeclared, may prove to be right. Some may not happen at all. So the strategy of any country in dealing with other countries is what you call as foreign policy. The foreign policy of India, that is what we are going to study today. How is it going to be designed, devised and executed? A very important lesson under political science. Let's go into the details now. To begin with, it is our government's strategy in dealing with other nations. That's how you define it. 2. Every sovereign country has its own foreign policy. What do you mean by sovereign? Is India a sovereign country? Yes, India is a sovereign country. It means we are not under another nation. Till 1947, we were being ruled by Britain. But after 1947, we have become an independent nation. No country can dictate us. No country can order us. We have our own government. We have our own system, our own hierarchy to decide each and every international move of India. So it's a strategy developed by our government. Our government is a sovereign government. China cannot dictate us. United States of America, it cannot dictate us. It can only give suggestions. No country can dictate us. Such a phenomenon you call as sovereignty. We are a sovereign nation. We are an absolutely independent nation. Each and every move of this nation is decided by the Foreign Affairs Department of the country. The government is chosen by the people. People elect the government. And we have a minister to look after the foreign affairs. Third one, countries cannot live in isolation. Saying that we are independent, we are a free country, we cannot live on our own. That's also not possible. We have to depend on other nations for most of our requirements. We may develop and produce lot of things in our country, but still we run short. Or we may not have certain items in our nation. We may have to get them from abroad. Or it may be a case of underproduction or no production at all. In such cases too, you have to purchase them, procure them from other countries. We may have items which we produce more than what we require. We have to export them, send them to other countries. Our students like to go to foreign countries to study in the universities there. Students there, they come to India. Now all these are managed, planned and executed by the Foreign Affairs Ministry. So no country in this world, in modern day, can say, I live on my own. I don't need any other nation of the world to help me in my proceeds. So it's an important point. No country can live in isolation. We can't be separate. And there are lots of areas countries have to cooperate with each other, or countries have to come together, join their hands and run that program. Run it. For example, internet. Internet cannot be a sole affair of one country. Lot of foreign agencies, including our own country, our agencies, they all cooperate. They have to put their hands together to see that it's a success. Point number 4. Very few countries in the world are strong and most of them are weak. I said around 200 nations are there in the world. 193 nations have the membership of the United Nations. Are all these strong? Not at all. Maybe there are about 5 or 6 countries, or at the most say 10 countries which may have a good military power. 2, 3, 4 or 5 may have a mighty military strength. And rest of the 180 nations, they have military only for namesake, that's for internal control, or just to guard their borders. In the event of a war, they get easily taken over by other nations. So what is the security then? We have United Nations to keep an eye on all the nations. Today, there is no place for imperialism. You can't invade another country. The entire world, whole world will be looking at you. United Nations will put its sanctions on that country. And it will criticize and comment in very strong words. Okay. 5th one. A sovereign country is one which is not under any other country's control. I explained it to you now. No country can dictate. All policy decisions pertaining to our country, they'll be formed and executed by our government, our legislature and our executive. Legislature forms the policies, executive gets them implemented. Next, 6th one. India is considered as one of the major countries of the world. Today we are a major country. Among the Committee of Nations, we are one of the major countries. In military strength, we are the 3rd in the world. Coming to population, we are the 2nd in the world. By 2028, economists say that India will take over China with regard to population. We will be number 1 nation and China will recede to the 2nd position by 2028. You have another 8 years to go because our population is rising fast. China's population has almost come to a standstill. See, we are within the first 3 places with regard to many of the aspects. The world cannot take any decision with regard to global affairs keeping India outside because we represent about 138 crore people. Out of every 6 persons in the world, 1 is an Indian. 1/6 of the world population comprises of Indians. So what are these? Why? Why do we say India is a major country? I don't say big or small, major country, an important country in the world. The world cannot lose sight of us. We are an important nation. Already it is crystal clear the way all nations pay a lot of attention towards what our Prime Minister tells the world. He is regarded as a key person in giving direction to most of the global policy directions, policy decisions. Huge population. We have a huge population. 138 crore people out of nearly 800 crore people of the world. 1 billion, more than 1 billion are in India. What's the world population? It is almost close to 8 billion. Second one, natural resources. India, we may be poor, keeping in view the income of the people or standard of living, but remember, we have abundant natural resources. India is a country with abundant natural resources. Otherwise, this land would not have been able to support 138 crore people. No one dies of hunger here. Maybe one has to strive hard to make a living, but still every Indian gets the needed food, required food. No one dies of hunger. So we have abundant natural resources in our country. Take into account most of the other countries, a part of the country, a big area of that nation will be either a hot desert or a cold desert or mountainous. You will not be able to grow anything, people cannot live there. Number 3, military strength. I told you, we are the 3rd largest military in the world. So India is known for its military strength. It may be fight on land, water, air or space. We are almost set to fight our enemy in any of these areas, and India has turned to be a very strong military power in the world. 4th one, ours is the largest democracy in the world. With 138 crore people here, we stand first. You may ask, what about China, sir, then? China is a communist country, it's not a democratic country. They don't have elections. People do not have any role to play in the decisions that the government takes. They are almost ruled at the butt of the gun. It's a dictatorial regime you have in China. It's a communist country. It's an atheistic country. They don't believe in God. I told you 3 things. It's a dictatorial country. It is a communist country. Atheism prevails in China. People have to act, function, play their role as per the instructions given by the government. Almost every day people are executed in China for the reason they have turned to be corrupt. They are just taken 2 or 3 days, the inquiry gets over and they get sentenced to death. It's a matter of just 3 or 4 days. That's why China has an iron curtain. It doesn't allow other people of other countries, diplomats from other places of the world to enter China and make a study and report. We call it as an iron curtain. China has an iron curtain all around. No one is allowed to enter China and make a detailed study of the course of things thereon. No. India is not like that. Totally transparent. Foreign journalists, they can move to any part and find out the realities. We move to the next, industries. We are an industrial country today. We have lots of industries. Maybe agriculture is the priority here. 65% people are dependent on agriculture. But compared to other countries, India is also emerging as a big industrial nation. Sixth one, intellect. Indians are considered to be intellectually very strong. That's why in NASA, a good percentage of employees are Indians. In all the scientific communities you find globally, you find Indians there. Number of engineering colleges in India, no country has in the world as many engineering colleges we have, as many technical institutions we have, as many doctors as India has. So from this angle too, from the intellectual angle too, we are a leading nation. We have covered about 6 areas. This gives you the needed base as to why India should be called a major country. You may be asked in the exam, why is India called? India is termed as known as a major country. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 you can say. So the world is very much concerned about participation of India in all discussions and debates pertaining to the various disputes relating to the world. India doesn't have the veto power. Still, countries are insisting that India should be provided with the veto power in the Security Council of the United Nations. Because all the nations of the world feel that keeping India out of that, out of the Security Council when it comes to the veto power, is not justified. But China is not agreeing for the entry of India. China and Pakistan are 2 countries which always say, no, don't give permission to India to enter in. Let us not entertain India there. 7th point, India pursues its own foreign policy. As any independent nation in the world would behave, India too has its own foreign policy. Then why this particular statement? India asserts itself. Not just that we have a foreign policy, we assert. India has its say in any problem that the world confronts. Maybe from the military angle, or disputes among nations, or may health issues, or international field like communication, transportation. So India has the hegemony there. What do you mean by hegemony? It goes strong. It stands in the position of an elderly person telling the world what it should be. The world thinks then. Whatever India tells the world, they take it very seriously. We don't say anything in a lighter sense. Whatever India says is truthful. It's something which has to be paid lot of attention from the viewpoint of the good that we want to do to the world. India never thinks just for itself. India thinks itself as a member in the Committee of Nations of the world. Not as a separate selfish individual. Oh, I have to make money, I have to live, I have to be strong. There's a lot of difference between China and India. The way China confronts, the way India confronts the world. There's a big change, big difference. We'll move to the next. So that's why we say India pursues its own foreign policy. And the stand, India's stand turns to be very important for the United Nations. And India always adjusts and says, right what is right. Without any fear, India puts forth its meaningful attributes. Foreign policy of a government is based on its long-term and short-term interests. India has long-term interests in the world. If the world is peaceful, we too will be able to live happily. We don't say, let anything happen to the world, let us be happy. No, we never say that. India always says, we as members of the United Nations, we should live happily. Let peace prevail everywhere. That's why we repeatedly say, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhe means earth. Let the entire earth be one family. Our Prime Minister repeatedly says this, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. There may be differences, but still let us feel that we are all one. Our strength lies in that. Our secret of happiness lies in that. So we have long-term interests. Long-term interests make the world live in peace. Short-term interest. China is almost inviting other nations for a war. China has told Vladivostok of Russia belongs to China. Vladivostok is an important harbor in Russia on the eastern front. That's very close to Japan. It's a great harbor, one of the great harbors. And China says, 1000 years ago Vladivostok belonged to me, so clear it and go. I want to take it. China has disturbed border with 20 countries all around, including India. It is not happy with anyone. So Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam will not serve well when we take up the issue of China. But India, even when the situation was very bad with China, we somehow tried to tackle it, see that peace prevails. Okay. That's the short-term policy. See that your borders are quiet. See that you overcome coronavirus, COVID-19. In the long term, we should have the needed attributes as to how we should face such pandemics. Now that's a long-term issue. Now the COVID is affecting us. Thousands of people are dying. Somehow we should bring a control on it. This is a short-term issue. Every issue, every problem will have its long-term affront and a short-term affront. You have to work with both these. It is an art of finding out the right policy. Sometimes you will be in a dilemma as to what would be the right thing. Should we take it up or not? Should we do it or not? Should we go by this path or not? You have to take the right decision at the right time. Okay. 10th one. We can speak of good for international community and international peace. Very important aspect we discussed just now. India doesn't speak for itself. Whenever India speaks, it speaks for the world. India is the mouthpiece of 190 odd nations. What they want to tell, they may be all small nations with just 1 crore population, half a crore population, 2 crore population, But they feel here we have a big brother who can speak for us. What we have at heart, India can tell the world. And when India tells it, the world looks at it from a significant point of view. It accepts. Even when there was Cold War between America and Russia, India played a vital role. Every time they started drawing their swords out, India was there, telling them as to what is right for the world. And both America and Russia wanted someone to intervene like that. When they are ready for a war, you need a third party to come and say, peace, 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 quiet, move, move. Don't draw swords now. India was doing that job. India was a big support to the United Nations too. That's how India is being respected all over the world. India became a republic in 1947. Republic. We became a sovereign nation. When we say we became a sovereign nation, we mean we are a republic. In the world, a nation, independent nation doesn't mean it's a republic. Now Canada is an independent nation. But is it a republic? Canada is not a republic. Any decision drawn by the Canadian government has to be got signed by the Queen of England. At least honorarily she is regarded as the first citizen of Canada, because Canada was being ruled earlier by Britain. Even after attaining independence, Canada has given that rightful place to the Queen as the hegemony head, the superior most person. But India doesn't. Our president is somebody whom we have elected. We have not permitted any other country to have even an iota of control on our nation. We rule ourselves. We know how to rule. We know what decision should be taken. So with all humility, India is a republic. Canada is not a republic. Australia is not a republic. In Australia, Queen is the head of Australia. I think I made it clear for you. See, nations which are not controlled by other nations are called as republics. They are republic. Republic of India, Republic of Saudi Arabia. The king of Saudi Arabia is the ultimate head. No foreigner is there to control them. Next, India wants peaceful coexistence with the other countries of the world. This is a key issue. We say, let's all live together like brothers and sisters. Let us not think ill of others. Let's always think of well-being of the world community. We should be good, and all the other nations of the world, they too should live happily just as we live. There should be a proper understanding. There should be good rapport among all the nations of the world. 13th one. The major aims of our foreign policy are, we have kept in a few things. Always you should have the field marked to take all decisions. Whoever becomes the foreign minister or foreign affairs in charge, they have to think of these aspects while deciding anything about the nation. What are the key aspects that we keep in mind as we draw our foreign policy? Point number 1. National security. You might have seen whenever PM speaks, he says, national security is supreme. We won't let off even a square inch of our nation to somebody. Our security is important. We don't think ill of them, but we can't give an inch even of our land to others. National security, our people, our nation, our land, everything should be secure. They should be where they should be. Enriching national economy. Economically, we want to be strong. We don't say we should be number 1 in the world. We should be strong. we should be able to do justice to our people. We have a huge population to maintain, unlike Britain, France or America, and we should be successful. Next, enriching national economy, spreading the cultural richness of our country world over. India has a very rich culture. This culture is not something which has been etched out in the last 50 years or 100 years. It has 5,000 years background. From the period Mahirshis used to do tapas in the forest and come out with noble ideas for the good of people and communities, kings, queens. Till today, we have not failed in that field. We have a very rich philosophy. This is a nation which says, Atiti Devo Bhava. Even a guest who comes to our house, treat him as God. As if God has come to your house. Treat him well. Keep him happy. Keep him happy. Atiti Devo Bhava. You don't find it anywhere else. Nowhere any culture has told how you should regard your guest who comes to your house. That has become our national philosophy too. See, our terms with Pakistan may not be good, but we have not cut off our trade relations. We sell crores and crores worth of Indian producers to Pakistan. We import producers of Pakistan into India. See the relations. We have not disturbed our day-to-day life. And time and again we keep on telling Pakistan, don't think of another war. That will be detrimental to you. I know it will be detrimental to me too. It will be detrimental to you too. This peninsula will get devastated. Don't think of another war. Try to live in peace. So our neighbor too is almost quiet. Almost quiet. He doesn't plan out another war. And he knows how strong India is. Spreading the cultural richness of our country world over. All over the world, we should be able to leave our imprint and make them think, feel and behave in an orderly way for the good of the entire world. Fourth, developing friendship with other countries. You might have seen, even the President of India, he is not just allowed to sit quiet in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. He goes to Africa, goes to 3 or 4 countries there, stays there for 2 days each, talks to them, speaks in their parliament, speaks to the leaders there, maintains the relations. From there he moves to another. The Vice President of India and President of India are busy traveling all over the world, giving speeches, talking to them and winning their friendship. That was evident in the last UN Assembly. Out of 193 nations, 184 were present, 182 backed India when policy decisions came up. When we had to tell China has invaded, 182 countries of the world supported India. Yes, it's true. What India says is true. This should not have happened. Checking the power of enemy countries. Saying friendship is all the more important. We have not forgotten we are surrounded by some enemy nations too. We have to be very careful. If we are not careful, they may take away portions of our land sometimes. So we have built up a good force, military strength we have. We check the power of enemy countries and make suitable adjustments and arrangements as regards our defense power is concerned. We can defend our country. We can defend our waters. We can defend our airspace. See, all these become a part and parcel of our foreign policy. Last one, achieving world peace. After saying all these, we again reiterate and say, we are interested in world peace. We are not interested in another world war. We will not support. We stand by peace. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let peace prevail everywhere. What a beautiful setting for a good foreign policy. Okay. 14th. The Chinese aggression of 1962 taught us a big lesson. Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister, he was a great statesman. The world was looking at him as a great statesman. We did not have a proper military even. We had heightened police force. And China, after knowing India is weak in its military power, it attacked us at 2 points. One Ladakh, the other is Nepal border, Arunachal Pradesh border. And they entered into our territory. And our military was in very poor shape. It said they did not have proper shoes to wear. When they had to traverse that mountainous area, they need good shoes, no? They did not have proper shoes. They did not have weapons. And India learned a big lesson. But when in 1962 China invaded us, America came to our help. America immediately came to our help. Russia kept quiet, and somehow the war came to a close because the American presence in the subcontinent made all the change. China understood, now USA won't keep quiet. This will lead the world into a big war. This is not the appropriate time. I should push myself further. So the war came to a close. This war of 1962 between India and China taught us a big lesson. There onwards we did not look back. When it came to 1965 war, Lal Bahadur Shastri had been our Prime Minister. Pakistan planned to attack India and take away Kashmir. They entered India, but India taught them a very good lesson. Because just 3 years earlier, we had been taught a lesson by China, and we knew well what should be our preparedness now. 15th, Jawaharlal Nehru is the chief architect of India's foreign policy. Maybe in 1962, we learnt a bitter lesson, but Jawaharlal Nehru, there is no doubt, he was the chief architect of India's foreign policy. Even today, much of what we speak in terms of foreign policy is all what Jawaharlal Nehru sowed then when we got independence and India needed an independent foreign policy. America and Russia were at loggerheads after the Second World War. India did not want to join USA. India did not want to join Russia. We started a separate bloc. We called it as a non-aligned bloc. We are not with the Democrats. We are not with the communists. Ours will be a separate watchdog bloc. We will keep a watch on the world. What is wrong, we will pronounce it wrong. What's right, we will declare that's right and support. And we have played that role very well. As years have passed on, it has turned to be an important aspect. He had managed as the External Affairs Minister beside being the PM. He was the first Prime Minister. He was not just Prime Minister, he had kept the External Affairs Ministry in his hands. Jawaharlal Nehru, besides being a PM, he had the foreign affairs with him. Because he was very particular, we have to delve into a very systematic precision position in the world. It should start now. Now it is paying rich dividends. India is commanding respect from all corners for our non-aligned role. Non-aligned role. Non-aligned means we don't align ourselves with any of the blocs. Non-aligned role. Okay. We move next. Now we come to basic aspects of India's foreign policy. What is your foreign policy? We said how it got delved, how it got designed, how it took shape. All this we discussed. What is it now? What do we say? What is your foreign policy? The very first one is Panchashila principles. 5 principles. We have 5 key principles that govern our foreign policy. These 5 principles were actually drawn by Jawaharlal Nehru, conferring with the Premier of China, the then Premier of China. He was Chow En-Loy. Chow En-Loy. Chow En-Loy and Jawaharlal Nehru. China had not invaded India then. It was 1950s. They sat together. They said, we too are great powers. We are getting into those shoes. Let us do something for the good of the entire community, the world community. And 5 key aspects are drawn. Panchashila. Pancha means 5. Shila means conduct. Shila. Panchashila is a Sanskrit word. 5 key points for any country in the world to emulate. Not just for India. We came out with a model for the entire world. In 1954, India and China accepted Panchashila principles to foster their international relationship. Through the streets of Delhi, in an open vehicle, Jawaharlal Nehru and Chow En-Loy moved among thousands of people standing on either sides. These leaders waved their hands and they said, Indochina, bye-bye. We too are brotherly nations. Let our friendship prevail. But 8 years after that, 1954, we signed Panchashila principles. We said India and China are brothers. 1962, just 8 years after that, China stabbed us on the back. That's what the news channels say today too. China has stabbed us for the second time with Galwan Valley disruption problem. Jawaharlal Nehru was the Indian PM then, Indian Prime Minister. Chow En-Loy had been the Chinese Premier. So what did they pronounce? What did they declare? They declared Indochina, bye-bye. We will stand together and guide the entire world. We move next. The Panchashila principles were, I explained, we will just go through the points now. 1. Respecting each other's sovereignty and regional interests. China should respect India's sovereignty. India should respect China's sovereignty. What does it mean? We should not invade into each other's territory. We should be good neighbors. We should be like very good neighbors, helping each other. That's all what Jawaharlal Nehru had hoped. I told you, he was a great statesman with education in Britain and had read lots of books. He had his own ideas which would fit a statesman. But Chow En-Loy was too wrong to understand what Jawaharlal Nehru actually meant. Non-invasion of each other. We should not invade each other's territory. Third one, non-interference in each other's internal issues. India is almost a country which believes in God. All religions here in India, they believe in God. But in China, they don't believe in God. They don't get any government support there. Or they have communism there. We have democracy here. China sitting there should not criticize India for its democracy. On the other hand, India should not start criticizing communism all the time. This is what you call as interference in each other's business. This is like two neighbors always talking about each other. A, members of that family talk about B family. B family, they don't have any other job but to keep on criticizing about the members and the way they act and react with each other here in A. This is interference. Unnecessarily you are interfering. You should not. Whoever comes home, you start narrating the story, whether they are interested or not. So we should not interfere in each other's business or political or cultural activities. Mutual cooperation and respect. Let us build up trade. Let us cooperate and respect too. Peaceful coexistence like two brothers who have an absolute understanding. We two nations, let us live as two good brothers. Peaceful coexistence. See here, this is Chow-en-Loy, this is Jawaharlal Nehru, 1954, photo taken in 1954, when they pronounced Indo-China bye-bye. We move next. 2. Panchashila principles is point number 1 as regards Indian foreign policy is concerned. We believe in Panchashila, Pancha principles. Non-aligned movement. These two, I just told you in a nutshell. There are two power blocks in the world. One power block led by Russia, the other power block led by America. American power block, it keeps hailing democracy. The Russian power block, it hailed communism. These two are opposite thoughts, opposite thoughts. India did not go behind any of these power blocks. It built up its own non-aligned power block, NAM, non-aligned movement. The world was divided into two power blocks after the Second World War, America and Russia. The democratic countries were under the hegemony. Hegemony, leadership. Hegemony means leadership of USA, and the communist countries were led by USSR, Russia. Third point, India followed the policy of being non-aligned to either of these blocks. I will not join any of these power blocks. I stand separate. I remain separate. So I will be able to balance the power outfits, balance them. It was so. It was true. Fourth, India was successful in commanding the faith from both the blocks. Not merely remaining a separate power block and getting the respect of the world, even the two power blocks as such, the American bloc and the Russian bloc, they respected India. Good that we remained non-aligned. America was happy we did not go behind Russia. Russia was happy that we did not go behind America. Let India be separate. India, Egypt under Nasser, Abdul Nasser, and Yugoslavia, a country in Europe under Marshal Tito. These were three prominent countries which were the strength of the non-aligned movement, and India led them. And India played its role very well. We move ahead now. India secured financial assistance from USA. So what did we get in return? Pakistan actually backed America. Pakistan did not approve this non-aligned movement. They said India has no brains. No one will come to help India in times of emergency, said Pakistan, and it joined American power bloc. But in return, India got financial assistance from USA for lots of our industry and in different areas and military aid from USA. Whenever India was being attacked by Pakistan, Russia came to our help. In 1962, Russia kept quiet. But after that, 1965, 1971, Russia came out with forces to support India. So we did not lose anything by remaining a separate entity. We got help from both these. And blindly India did not support any of them. When crisis was there, India used to give its own judgment. Tactical judgments India used to give. And they realized that India is not out to make any profit from this. India is really interested in world peace. After Nehru, what happened after Nehru? Nehru died in 1964. Then came Lal Bahadur Shastri. He was PM of India for a very short period of time. Lal Bahadur Shastri. After Lal Bahadur Shastri, Indira Gandhi came. She remained in power for a very long time. Followed the principles of eye for an eye in foreign policy. They too supported non-aligned movement. But when Lal Bahadur Shastri was the PM, Pakistan attacked us. That was in 1965. 1971, Bangladesh got separated from Pakistan and there was a big war between India and Pakistan. Pakistan invaded India, tried to take a part of Punjab and Kashmir because it lost Bangladesh. East Pakistan became Bangladesh. But these two leaders, at the right time, they said, eye for an eye, saying that we are non-aligned, we won't sit quiet, we hit back. Both these leaders with the might of the army, they gave huge punches to Pakistan. And Pakistan has not come out of that even today. 1971 war is something which will remain in the mind of Pakistan for a very long time. So we have peace all over the border. Minor issues may be there. There has not been any big war other than Kargil that was fought. Kargil too was a miscalculation of Pakistan because we had not posted our army there. Pakistan thought, let me just coolly take Kargil hills. But once India came to know, it was Atal Bihari Vajpayee who was the Prime Minister, Indian military took the right step and took Kargil back. Okay, the 1965 and 71 wars were guided by this policy, eye for an eye. Even today, the policy is same. We are non-aligned. But if somebody invades us, it will be eye for an eye. We will give a strong smash back on their face. Okay, we move next. India secured financial, no, next. It's the same thing. Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee tried to reform our foreign policy. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, when he became the Prime Minister of India, he wanted to bring certain reforms in our foreign policy. Not change, certain reform. We have got bitten, we will slightly try to improve upon it. That's what he thought. He strived hard to have better relationship with Pakistan. Vajpayee said, let us live like good brothers. Whatever had happened in 65 and 75 have happened. Now let the people of these two countries come very close, build up a good rapport. He made a bus trip to Lahore. Vajpayee made a bus trip to Lahore. He tried to do everything possible to build up the relationship. But everything came to a close with Kargil happening. So India strived hard to build up good relationship with Pakistan throughout, time and again. But they have not got recognized by Pakistan with an equal spirit from that side. Here you see the Cold War between America and Russia. The hegemony of America and Russia and other countries supporting. You see the missiles there. nuclear missiles of America, nuclear missiles of Russia, and here you have the peace symbol, pigeon. Pigeon is sitting, how can he sit there? Any moment these may explode. A warlike situation is there all the time. And you don't have a place for peace at all. But now the Cold War has turned to be, it has cooled down after 1990. We don't find the extreme disturbance between America and Russia, because Russia, to a certain extent, it failed as a state. Russia broke up into many fragments. Russia had a big lesson. So after 1990, Russia did not try to get its relations disturbed with America to a great extent. But still, that fear and suspicion is there in the minds of America and Russia against each other. But that may not lead into another war. Now, the disturbance is between America and China now. America and China. Russia's place has been taken by China. America wants to teach China a lesson that it would not forget. Okay. So this says that the Cold War did not have a place for an absolute peace in the world front for years together. The pigeon is in a disturbed state. If it flies away, it doesn't have another place to land. But it can't stay cool too, because it is trying to build its nest on the tips of all the missiles of the two nations. Move next. Now third one. First one, Panchashila. Second one, non-aligned movement. Third one, anti-imperialism. What is imperialism? You try to invade into some country, take a part of their land and build up your country, your land area for your own benefit. It is with the selfish benefit you invade another country. This is what is imperialism. The Portuguese, the British, the French, the Dutch people, they came to India, Vietnam, Thailand and all these places. They invaded, took over areas and established their hegemony there for years together. All for, with what purpose? They wanted to mint money. They wanted to build up a big market. So we hate imperialism. We don't want any country of the world to establish superiority on another nation and take away their land for selfish purpose. The foreign policy of India opposes imperialism. What is imperialism? Imperialism is an attempt by a sovereign country to take over another sovereign country with the intention of ruling it for personal gains. For selfish gains, you want to capture another country or a part of another country and keep it under your control. This is what imperialism is. That's why when China tried to have its control on the Galvan Valley and they were driven back later, Modi visited Galvan Valley, and as he addressed the soldiers there, he told the entire world, from Galvan Valley, Modi gave a message to the entire world. The modern period has come. Imperialism is a thing of the past. No country of the world will accept it. He was actually referring to China. He was referring to China. Imperialism is a thing of the past. No country of the world will accept it. Because China had its eye on portions of 20 different nations. Okay, India gained its independence from the British. We had gained independence from the British. We have suffered under the British like anything. We had suffered under them. So, it is by nature we have developed an anger and hatred towards imperialism. We too do not want to rule over another country. We don't want any country to rule over another country too. Here too you have a picture. Imperialism of Hitler. Second World War. Why did First and Second World War take place? The main intention had been that certain dictators or certain countries wanted to pave the way of imperialism. Hitler, he wanted to take into control the entire world, all the countries of the world, and rule. He wanted to become a dictator of the entire world. It is with that hope he declared war on France, war on Poland, war on Britain, war on Yugoslavia, war on Spain and Portugal, war on Russia. He wanted to take over the entire world. That was his dream. But the dream got shattered later because of the Allied forces. So Hitler wanted to dictate the entire world. What do we call it as? It is the policy of imperialism. You don't have a right to take over somebody's land to meet your selfish interests. Imperialism is an attempt by a sovereign country to take over another sovereign country. You must have followed now. They are independent. They have to rule for themselves. You can't govern them with the intention of ruling it for personal gains, personal profit. You are thinking only about your nation. You are not thinking of the nation which is being taken over. What will the people feel like there? They cannot be exploited. Exploitation is not something which will be permitted in the present world. India gained its independence from the British, hence it was natural for India to oppose any act of imperialism. It has come as a natural, something natural for us to hate imperialism. In the Bandung Conference, it's an international conference of Asian countries. Bandung is a peace movement. It's an international conference of countries to uphold independence, uphold the sovereignty of the nations, and also fight against apartheid, exploitation, amassing weapons, militarization. India declared there in the Bandung Conference, that was in 1949. Again the Bandung Conference took place in 1955. India was of the predominant assertion saying that no corner of the world shall have imperialism. See with what grit Jawaharlal Nehru had declared. India won't follow the path of imperialism, won't allow any country of the world to act in haste and turn into an imperialist power. We oppose all such countries. 1949, 1955. On his recent visit to Ladakh, I told you just now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in an obvious reference to China, he did not mention the word China, but everyone in the world came to know he is referring to China. With an obvious reference to China, said, the age of expansionism is over. Who was expanding his territory? It was China. In the centuries gone by, it was expansionism that hurt humanity. History has been mainly because of this expansionism thinking. This country invades the other one, that invades the third one, 2 or 3 countries come together, it becomes an allied power, and they go and try to assert over another 4th nation. History is all about war and war alone throughout. If wars had not been there, battles had not been there, history would have been a very peaceful course that hurt humanity the most and sought to destroy it. Wars, or this expansionism, theory of expansion, has the ability to destroy the entire world. Remember, Modi told the world. Comments came from all over the world. They said, Modi, you said it right, you are right. We are behind you. and China became quiet with that. He spoke from Galwan Valley and got endorsed by the entire world. One slogan getting endorsed by the entire world sent a message to China. So that is our foreign policy. Now, fourth one, anti-apartheid policy. In India itself, we don't permit any sort of caste struggle, caste with the disputes on each other, fighting. We want to build up a casteless society in India. The concern is prime. It may take decades, but we are going to build it up. Apartheid is an attempt by a race or people of a particular skin color to subjugate another race of people of different skin color in the name of supremacy. Where do we find it mainly? We find it in Africa, mainly in South Africa. The whites are asserting their superiority on the blacks. Whites asserting their superiority on the blacks. That is what apartheid is. We feel whites are designated by the Lord to rule the world. Blacks have to be their slaves, as if they are animals. They won't get any share in government. What we accrue, they have to just serve the whites. This sort of thinking is what is called as apartheid. Nelson Mandela was the leader of the apartheid, non-apartheid movement in South Africa. He was kept in prison for 25 years by the whites. This is what you call as racialism. This is apartheid. But ultimately, the world endorsed anti-apartheid policy, and today South Africa is a free country. So India supports anti-apartheid movement. Apartheid is an affront. Affront means a hurdle, a disturbance, a block. A block. You want to go somewhere and there's a block. The road is closed. It's an affront. Affront to human rights and world peace. If you want human rights to hail, world peace to be promoted, see that apartheid is controlled. Apartheid is done away with. People who practice apartheid should be put behind bars. That is what has happened in Africa today, South Africa. Nelson Mandela has given his entire life to that fight against the whites regarding apartheid. The foreign policy of India declared that no country of the world shall practice apartheid. In clear terms, India says. There are no ifs and buts for that. No, I don't accept apartheid in any form. Okay, we move ahead. Till recently, the minority white people were ruling the majority black people in South Africa. How? With military might. Blacks were being mercilessly killed. They were not being permitted to lead a good life, a civilized life. They had to live in separate slum areas. Blacks were not being cared for at all. They were being treated like wild animals, put in a slum area. They had to only come and do their job and walk off. Gandhiji too gave all out support to this anti-apartheid movement. The anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, that gave the needed fillip to Mahatma Gandhiji to become a world global leader. India had declared its support to Nelson Mandela and his party, African National Congress, ANC we call, African National Congress. It is the party of Nelson Mandela, who were opposing apartheid in their country. So Nelson Mandela headed African National Congress. They led anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. Here you have a beautiful cartoon. You analyze this political cartoon. Here you have a dinosaur, and on the dinosaur, a man is sitting with a whip in his hand. He wants to control the dinosaur. He has a whip in the hand Actually, that is global peace. Global peace, global governance, United Nations. It wants to control the dinosaur. Dinosaurs, today they are no more existent. They were there on this globe 150 million years to 65 million years ago. They reigned the world. They reigned the world. Luckily, man was not there then. Like man came later. Here, what would happen here? What would a dinosaur in any political cartoon symbolize? He asks us the questions now. What does the dinosaur symbolize? Dinosaur symbolizes, what does it symbolize? Apartheid. The horror in the world. Horror created by the imperialists. Horror created by those whites who support the apartheid movement. People who support war. People who do not want peace to prevail. They are all symbolized by this horror animal. A horror lizard we will call. This is a horror lizard, the dinosaur. This man is controlling. What weapon does it have? He has a whip. As you control oxen, he has a whip. Can you control it? If the dinosaur gives a big tilt, he will be down there. What seems to be happening to this dinosaur? It's not, nothing is happening. Even if we whips it, dinosaur will not get disturbed in any way. It won't feel it at all. What does it look like the white guy in trying to do? What is this white guy doing then? So far as the blacks were quiet, nothing happened. But once the blacks they rose up as a movement, a big huge movement, whites were nowhere. Africans got the independence. Indians got independence. Hundreds of countries which were under the European imperialistic powers, they all became free. Hardly there is any country today under the control of another nation. Okay, we move next. Last one, fifth. Disarmament. Armament, you add this here, you get its antonym. Disarmament. Giving up arms. Don't have weapons. Have minimum weapons what you require. Nuclear weapons you can't speak about at all. All the countries of the world should disarm themselves to see that world pursues the path of global peace. The process of elimination of specific arms which intend to kill people in large numbers. Rifles are all right. Bombs, hazardous bombs, nuclear bombs, hydrogen bombs, laser beams, these are all installed. Gas explosives, they are all weapons which always have a thirst to kill people in large numbers. We know what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki when bombs were dropped by America. Lakhs of people got killed. So step by step, we should see that even the major countries, they give up their mass killing weapons. Mass destructive weapons they should give up. So this is a part of India's foreign policy. We too want to give up our nuclear bombs, provided China gives up. If China has and India doesn't have, you know what would happen next. It's a deterrent on China not to invade India today, because it knows very well India is a nuclear power. There is an increased competition for the production, sale and collection of arms in the world. There are countries in the world which mint money only by the production of bombs and selling them. Production of weapons and selling them. America is an example for that. Much of their income comes from selling of weapons. In America, priority has been given to the production of weapons, military vehicles, military aircraft, bombs. So much of their income, finance comes from, money comes from the weapon industry, arms industry, war industry. India opposes it. Last one. Many of the countries are worried that this massive scale of arms could lead to Third World War. Countries go on amassing weapons. Where does it end? Ultimately, one day, the Third World War may break, and what would be the result? The entire world will get devastated. Entire world will get destroyed. Next. Countries with massive arms, massive, huge weapons, mass destructive weapons may attack another country intentionally or by mistake. War may be a pre-planned one, or unintentionally for a petty problem a war may break open, or by accident triggering massive devastation. This war will trigger devastation, destruction of the entire globe. The presence of nuclear arms makes the issue more complicated, because powerful nations, militarily strong nations, they don't bow down to the request of the world. They behave as they like. Here you have a cartoon again. You have the nuclear industry here. You have the atom, which is posing a big threat to the world, and in a balloon, man is sitting, maybe the UN, let us say, or peace-loving citizens. He is sitting there. He is dreaming a world which is nuclear free. He is dreaming that world where there won't be the threat of nuclear bombs. But how can it be? He is sitting on a balloon floating in the air. The nuclear disaster is here. Any moment his balloon itself may explode and he may fall into that well. That the cartoon tells us how fierce is the situation with about 10 countries in the world possessing nuclear weapons. Countries like Iran, North Korea, Pakistan, China, India, Russia, America, Britain, France. Adding to these, there are many more which have undeclared weapons with them. So the situation is really a very disturbing situation, but India doesn't endorse it. That's why India says, I will not be the first one to use nuclear weapon in the event of any disaster. I won't use it. I may possess, but I won't use. I know it destroys mankind. I don't want to disturb the peace situation. I want to work for the global peace. So this is India's foreign policy. Sixth one, India, being a peace-loving country, advocates for the reduction of arms qualitatively as well as quantitatively. What is quantitatively? Number of bombs. You have 200 bombs, reduce it to 100, reduce it to 50, reduce it to 20. This is quantitative reduction. How many military aircraft do you have? We have 500. The opposing country has 600. Quantitatively, they are more powerful. Qualitatively, numbers may be big, but the capability of the weapons may be 10 times stronger than what the other country possesses. Then qualitatively, you are superior. So, qualitatively and quantitatively, we want to reduce the number of weapons, mass destruction weapons what we have. The Article 51 of the Indian Constitution, our Constitution has proclaimed Article 51. Remember the Constitution, article number. Advocates for a foreign policy that aims at establishing international peace and cooperation. Our Constitution directs the government of India, work for peace. Don't work for war. Work for peace. It's a standing instruction. You have to work within that framework. You work for international peace. You have to work for international cooperation. Because you have already proclaimed in your books of the past that you stand for Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. By words and deed, we should stand for one single principle. Indian foreign policy aims at strengthening United Nations organization which works for global peace. Indian membership in the UN is a big strength for the UN. What UN speaks and what we speak are one and the same. We never speak in a different tone. We always endorse what UN says, keeping in view the global peace in mind. Thank you.